Conversations on Awaz-e-Haqiqat, which translates to the voice of truth. I'm your host, Chris Malika Bhadra, and depending on whichever part of the world you're listening to me, today I'm going to be talking to a very, very special guest, and she comes with a lot of conversation which is interesting to have in our culture, which is what happens when you have a mixed legacy, when you have mixed heritage roots. How do you navigate your life? How do you maneuver through complications of life? And what does life look like to you in that case? I am joined by Charlene Behal, who is an Asian Australian writer of or Indian, Filipino, and Vietnamese descent. Through her work, she explores the intersection of being a mixed Asian queer woman living in Australia. On that note, a very good evening, Charlene. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm glad to be on the podcast. It's really nice to meet you. What an intro. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. And it was lovely to e-meet you. And I hope we get to meet in person very, very soon.
Yes.
Um, you've got such an amazing legacy, Charlene. So I'll kind of get straight into the conversation, right? When it comes to you as an individual, how do you personally define your mixed Asian identity?
Yeah. I would say I mostly identify with the Asian Australian label, if you want to label it like that.
Mm,
I love being a mixed person. It's very unique. But I can't say like no one looks at me and thinks, oh, she's Indian
mm,
or she's Vietnamese or she's Filipino. Sometimes, yeah. Um, So I kind of either say I'm all three, which
mm,
I can't say I'm one more than the other, or I'll just say like, I'm Asian Australian. I understand like English is my first language and my native tongue.
mm,
So I speak English to everyone. I understand Aussie English very well.
mm.
Um, and just little tidbits of each other, like of my native tongues.
Right.
But yeah, so being mixed is an amazing thing, especially it's not the like status quo, I suppose.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I always just if I do like label myself, often call myself an Asian Australian because I'm Asian and Australian at the same time.
mm.
Yeah.
Amazing. But following on from that, Charlene, it
Mm,
often happens that in the society we do get judged, right?
yeah.
On that note of getting judged, have you ever faced quote unquote intrusive questions about your legacy from the community? And if so, how have you tackled those unwanted questions?
Yeah, I think it happens mostly at like Indian gatherings. It can be a thing of like I definitely stand out because of my like I don't like look Indian.
Hmm.
Or like look brown. So me and my siblings would like often want questions like, "Oh, are you Korean? Are you Chinese?" Like that's okay. Like it's not out of ill intent, but it comes as like, oh, it's a little bit ignorant. Like you should ask like kind of like, oh, like where like what's your mix? But that's the thing. No one can know how there's no right or wrong way to ask a question, but
Yeah.
that's something we have observed like over the years, like me and my siblings. Um so, and then there aren't really intrusive questions in the Filipino Vietnamese side. So my mom is Filipino Vietnamese. Not that I can think of.
Hmm.
And then I do like, for example, notice other judgments. For example, because I don't look Indian, sometimes I hear or see things that are like kind of not very nice to Indians, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's not really a bang at me, but I'm just like, oh, this is not right. Like I can kind of notice that.
Hmm.
And I can see it from a different perspective of, yes, I'm Indian, but I don't look it. So people think I don't understand their um judgments, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. Yeah. Um, hmm.
That's good. It raises a question about, when we get questions, we do get bogged down mentally. But I'll come to mental health later.
Yeah.
Before that, you have quite a rich heritage, right? You have
Hmm.
Indian, Filipino, and Vietnamese backgrounds to kind of be proud of. How do
Hmm.
you navigate? Um, these are not similar cultures, right? So
Hmm.
how do you navigate the complexities of belonging to multiple cultures and communities? How do you cater to all of those things at the same time?
Yeah, I learned to like not put too much pressure on myself to try and understand everything because I don't understand the languages, I can tune it out very well, which is like, okay, that way I can focus on myself more. Not in a bad way. I really enjoy getting in touch with my cultures, like in any way that I can, like whenever there's an event like
Mm,
Diwali or um Christmas or like stuff like that. Like we celebrate it all basically. So I've never been very limited. I've always been very open in my worldview. Um, they are very rich cultures and like it's hard to say I'm like 100% of all like I celebrate every single thing and I understand every single word because that is a thing that you can't expect to know as a human being to know everything and to be on all sides of like
Mhm.
otherwise you feel like you're just tugging on a rope like
Mhm.
which side am I on blah blah. I always say I can't pick a side um and like I just love enjoying my life as a young Asian Australian rather than worry about what's happening outside because I when I do feel very worried, it very obviously affects my mental health and stuff like that. So I try my best to just get in touch with my culture when I can. Um, and that's a lot of the time. I love researching and reading in lots of multiple, what's the word, perspectives.
Mhm.
So that's how I learn about the world through books and music and art.
Yeah.
Like I really value that, especially learning about those specific things in my cultures.
Mhm.
Um, and then I dabble into a lot of Asian Australian events as well.
Mhm.
So, um, and I also have my project called Being Asian Aussie, where I interview Asian Australian women and queer people.
Mhm.
So that's a way that I kind of make that representation that I never had when I was growing up, kind of thing.
Right. Amazing.
Yeah, that's a
I
lot, yeah.
saw your work on Instagram, like, wow, that is so cool.
Thank you.
But just on another question, Charlene, I know you've mentioned this, you like to be identified as an Asian Australian, right?
Mm, mm,
Rightly so. But has it ever happened, right? I don't know how
mm.
old you are, and you don't have to specify, but as a young individual or with your sibling, ever happened that you're standing in front of the mirror and suddenly you're like, who am I? That identity factor creeps in. Has it ever occurred to any of your siblings or yourself?
Yeah, I do like look in the mirror and I remember the first time I wore a
Mm.
lehenga. Um, I remember looking in the mirror and just feeling so proud to be like an Indian woman, like not like a fully Indian, like I'm like technically I'm only half Indian,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
looking in the mirror, I felt like I've written about this before. It's a very profound experience for me. But like seeing like my lineage and like feeling like an Indian woman and looking at myself and feeling really beautiful. And then yeah, like growing up, I never looked in the mirror and think I'm an Asian Australian, but now I'm just like, wow, well now that you mentioned that, I love just feeling proud of my Charlene. Like sometimes I think of like what was I gonna say? Um yeah, I just feel really proud to like be
Okay.
Asian and a creative and a queer
Mm.
person. Um like once you just accept all those aspects of yourself, like nothing can stop you kind of thing. So I feel really proud and then I've also inherited great traits from like my parents and grandparents that can be culturally significant or just traits from them. Um I feel like yeah, I've achieved good things in my creative field and I'm thankful I have like parents who support me in that as well, like
Mm.
in being a creative, which is not
Right.
often seen in Asian communities as much, like as openly
Absolutely.
all the
That's
time.
so brave of you, Charlene. Kudos.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now coming to the point of media and social media
Mm,
and print and all of those kind of media outlets, the representation, right? We
mm.
see that nowadays modern media is trying to bring in mixed culture representation. How do you
Yes.
feel about that?
I think it's such a good thing to show multiple perspectives because being mixed, it comes with, I think a lot of the time when we do see mixed coming into media, it's mostly like white and Asian or like white and black, blah, blah. But I want to see more representation of people of color and people of color, different interracial relationships. Like, really, I am so thankful and not thankful, kind of satisfied with the pr progress we were making in representation. But if I really saw someone like me I really like with the mixed in, I mean, sorry, people of color and people of color interracial, I think it brings
Mm.
up a new conversation because we all have different, like, there's minority myths and different struggles that we
Yeah.
face. So seeing that mix of it, like, is such an amazing thing to see. But that, then again, the representation right now is just so amazing, most of the time.
Mm.
So I'm not gonna be like, oh my gosh, I'm not happy with this. Because once you keep saying, oh, we keep going further and further, and then when you keep saying, oh, I'm not happy, we're just going backwards. So I think we should really like look forward to the Asian Australian and Asian Australian specifically, just because um a lot of the time, we've heard this a million times before, but we're like the nerdy or like the side character, but seeing like plays and movies and yada yada of um Asian Aussies is
Yeah.
really like, that being said, all parts of Asia would be really cool.
Mm.
And people of color in general. Sorry, that's like, I feel like I'm trying to fill up all
Yeah,
the
I get
things,
your
but
point.
yeah,
Because,
yeah,
just as an example, when I first saw Bridgerton and the way they were trying to club in, it was amazing to see what they're doing on that level. And it
yeah,
just gives an inspiration to the young generation who might be struggling with body issues or
so true.
color issues, so many things, right? So an
Yeah.
amazing thing that some of the series out there are doing.
Mm,
Um, Speaking of the young generation, Charlene, probably
mm,
your generation, the generations to come, right?
yes.
How do you envision the future of mixed Asian identity in the context of ongoing social and cultural changes?
Oh, that's a big question. Um, I think just knowing that, because I think it's really cool that our generation, like my generation, Gen
Hmm.
Z, is having so many, like there's just interracial relationships in general, which is a really cool thing to
Hmm.
see, because no one really cares much about like culture anymore in
Hmm.
that way, as in we're not trying to be homogenous. We're trying to be like, not trying to be like, you love who you want to love. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter what race you are, which is a really amazing thing. Because when my parents got together in the 90s, it wasn't as open. Um, like being from like
Yes.
my
Hmm.
Indian, my mom's Filipino, so back in the 90s, that was like a rare combo to see, combo
Hmm.
or whatever you want to call it. Um, but then so that posed me feeling um like I didn't know where I fit in society as a mixed person.
Hmm.
But because I can see that I generally or genuinely, I'm not sure, see the future as mixed, like because um, yeah, like we are more people are open to different cultures
Yeah.
nowadays. That means that it shows off in their relationships. Like there aren't, it's cool to be in your own culture, but then when you're sharing other cultures with people, um, that's an amazing thing. And I think that the next generation will be very mixed, and I'll be one of the old mixed people back in, I mean, in the future. Like one of the OGs. And that's cool. Like I think it's really cool that
That's
um
happening.
the next generation I think will be very mixed and not care too much about culture. We can talk about other things, not just where we come from.
Hmm.
Uh, our heritage. Heritage is important, but we can talk about other things too. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, that makes us who we are.
You will lead the way, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, I wish. Nah,
You
that's
will.
cool.
I'm coming back to the point of mental health, right, Charlene?
Yeah.
Because so many things are happening, difficult times and whatnot. Uh,
Mm.
how do you take care of your mental health when things get going, things don't get going, and it's a difficult day?
Yeah. I try, and I think that really like affects me is like noise, like hearing the noise of everything happening around the world and
Mm.
people not being satisfied and pe just people outside where like just a lot of sounds can really, so I try and tune it out by like listening to music
Mm.
simply. I do journaling. I like to hang out with my friends and also like my partner as well. Like just going out really helps like with my mental state and just realizing how great it is to be in Australia. Like a lot of times like your parents will say, "Oh, you're so lucky to be here." And then you think, I mean, we are like we
Mm.
I really when I really think about it, I'm like, damn, this is a good place to be. Um and yeah, just focus on myself. A lot of the time I try and focus on my other people for no reason other than the pressure I put on myself. Like I think
Yeah.
about my parents, my siblings, my grandparents who I also live with, and um that can be a lot of pressure because yeah, I try nowadays with my mental health, just focus on myself and sometimes get off the social media because it can be really overwhelming as well. Um, just focus on what I want, I think, is the main thing.
Yeah.
Um, which is a really powerful thing to just to say, what do you like, what does myself want
Mm.
time? What do I need to do to tune out and just like relax, like just chill and not feel stressed about other things, just
Mhm.
be in your own headspace kind of thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You do you, right? That's what they say.
Mm.
All
Yeah.
right, Charlene, this was such a good, positive conversation. We are hopeful for the culture to flow through. What would be your message to our listeners on that note?
Ooh, I think my message to the listeners would be just to really hone into yourself and be who you are. It's such a powerful thing just to think about like what's your name and what's your legacy, what do you want to do?
Mm.
And just follow that. Sometimes for me, because I'm a freelance writer, like it's like not
Wow.
a serious real career, and sometimes you don't feel as motivated to find leads and all these things. But like literally just owning who you are as like whatever your identity is, whatever you want to, yeah, whatever that is, like just hold on to that and really just go all the way. Like
Amazing.
just really do what you want.
Mm.
Um rather than worry about those outside forces or not forces, outside people, what they're saying, what they're gonna think, yada yada. Like
Mm. Mm.
it's very common in brown culture or just Asian culture, like what are they gonna think? What are you gonna do? Like if you focus on yourself and do what you want, then you know what can go wrong. You always got to try things. So
Lovely.
yeah, yeah.
Thanks. That is absolutely what we need. We pressurize ourselves too much with external opinion and it
Mm,
mucks everything up. On that note, Charlene, where can we find you on social media?
yes. You can find me on Instagram at Lean Behal, Lenebehal or Behal. Sorry, that's how I'm supposed to pronounce my last name. Um, yeah. And then I have a link tree that's in my bio on Instagram. So linktr.ee/Lean Behal. That's just the shortened name of my shortened. I'm making up words now. Shortened my nickname,
Yep.
last name. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you,
Yeah.
Charlene. Thanks for your time this evening. This was a very positive conversation, not only for our present generation, but all the future generations that will be coming on in the future. You'll be leading the way, I'm sure of it, that
Thank you.
we will have so much more to talk about than just being where are you from? Because honestly,
Yeah.
we can be from any part of the world as long as we are a good human. That's what we need right
Yeah.
now.
So
And
true.
to our listeners, if you have heard us for the first time, I really hope that you had something to take away from Charlene's words. She is a very wise young individual. She had a lot to kind of offer me as well about humanity, culture, legacy, and mental health. Please take away from our conversation, and you know where to find her on Instagram. And if you have heard us for a while, I hope you like the content I put on the table. If you've got any thoughts or feedback, please write to me at awaz-e-haqiqat@gmail.com. Or you can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. I look forward to reading your thoughts and comments. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you for such an amazing conversation. I hope we will be in touch in the future and all the best.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was great.